I got some spreads, rings. I don't know, I think the last guy in here must not know what he was doing. Well, hello again. This is Farmer Clay. Welcome back to the channel. This is part 2 of us working on the Oliver. As you can see here, we left off. I had her split. Since then, I've done some research. I think we're going to dive in a bit deeper into this old girl, and I think I'm going to go through the whole rear end. There was nothing wrong with it. That functioned fine, but at its its point in life, I think I'm going to see if we can't replace this shaft. And now this shaft goes from here all the way through back into there, into that housing, which is the PTO housing, which the PTO clutch, the PTO clutch is right back here in this housing. The bearing and everything's good in that. I think, so I'll probably just reuse most of that stuff. But the seat's going to come off. I'm going to redo the seat brackets. I'm going to cut this off because this hits your feet back up here and it's always grinding into you. So I'm going to take that off. These are the original seat brackets. I was going to see if there is a way I could build a tray that came off of these that you just slide on in and put a bolt through a pipe or something like that, and then it came down and leveled off. Do something a little bit different for the bottom tray of that. I don't know why, but I just thought I would do it. And then this here, that's a bolt for the top of the PTO shroud that goes on there. But we'll see what happens. I don't know, I might end up building something totally different that takes this whole thing on out and I come off from down here all the way up. So just stuff having to learn to do. So, but I'm gonna end up draining. I think we're gonna drain the hydraulic reservoir, strip down the hydraulics off of it, get that out of the way, get the pump and all that stuff out of there. And then I think I'm going to come in with my tractor and I'm going to pick this thing up and take it over and give the front end and the back end and everything kind of a good bath before I get too excited. Just get her all washed down real nice and pretty like. There's some PTO covers and stuff like that. I think these were stripped out. I got to see if I have bolts that fit these. If I do, I'm probably going to put my pulley back on just because it'll be unique having it back on. But I'll see what's all there for that, for if those are still good or not. I have another whole unit out back on another Oliver that if I have to swap it out, I can. But I remember, right, Grandpa said one of them was stripped out. I couldn't remember if it was this one or the 60. And then the other one, I want to get open my brake covers and get inside there because I believe one side seeps a bit. I think it was this side here. Yeah, seeps a bit. So if I'm redoing this and resealing this, I want to go through and reseal it all up, and do a good job on it so that way it lasts for us. You know, I don't want to put it together and then have to take it apart and then put it together and have to take it apart. So yeah, I'll kind of go through and see what we could figure out for parts and pieces of what goes where and what we're going to do. And maybe I might end up having to do a bunch of bearings in there too. Who knows? Like I said, it's always been a good transmission. It always was a noisy transmission when you're running it, but I just think that's the context of what it is. But we'll give it a whirl, and then I think I'll pull the clutch off because I want to inspect the splines and the hub of this. And because the flywheel has a hub that drives this that's replaceable. So if the hub inside that is bad as well, then I'll have to get one of those too, because I don't want to replace just one half and then have that be damaged, and all it's going to do is trash the shaft out quickly. So, and then I figured out what this was. This guy here is supposed to be lodged firmly back in there and allow it to slide on, and for whatever reason it walked out of that bell housing, hence why I was able to tip that bell housing up, which I think I probably could have done that anyways, but it just allowed that shaft to walk on in. So I'd have to go out back and look. I got the other bell housing out back for off the gas. It might have it in there, but I think I'm just going to order a new one and call her good. So that way I make sure it'll stay seated in the bell housing this time. Other than that, everything else is kind of the same condition that you saw, disassembly coming apart. I found the new U-joints for these because these are pretty stiff. Just anything we can do to help. That was me hammering on it to get it apart. But get some of that stuff all kind of cleaned up. But this seat here is super simple. Like you can just, come on. Ah, I think I got it. I forgot to pay my subscription dues for the auto remove system. So, but yeah, I'll come through and boy, that was a long time ago when I made all this stuff. All right, so this is the one that Grandpa bought. As you can see, it was cracked right there. It had the, these are electronic controls for hydraulics. So you see it's kind of, it was in rough shape, but I stripped off the engine off of it, the front end out of it. I got most of the frame all taken down off out of there, so I just got a last little bit to get stripped on out of here. But don't mind keeping it around for parts. It's been a pretty good resource to come back and look. I'm trying to find the clutch inspection cover. Yeah, this is all 77 parts. Radiator, grill. Yeah, see, here's the tube. That right in there. Hang on. Yeah, there's the tube. So it came out of the bell housing, and that's what was grinding in my clutch. Alright, so we're going to start off. We're going to go ahead and pull this on out. I believe the internal shafts are damaged. The bushings are all messed up in there. So we'll pull it apart and kind of see what we're up against there. See if we got a stable base here for us. I gotta get a chrome socket to get on there. We got some children outside building some pontoons. Huh. Both threads are a little boogered up for some reason. That one has some love issues too. That's all right. That's okay too. All right, so here's the bushing. It's in pretty rough shape. The disc actually looks pretty good still. I mean, other than the mouse nest in it, doesn't look terrible. I'm pulling out chunks of bushing. And I got some spreads, rings. I don't know, I think the last guy in here must not know what he was doing. I got some spreads, rings. I don't know, I think the last guy in here must not know what he was doing. He had to be fired. What do you think, unfire him? No, keep him? Okay. Well, the wife says you gotta keep me. And those are 5/8. Well, you don't want your voice on camera? She's over here sitting in a chair reading a book. All right. We got the flywheel ring gear on it. See if we want to. All right. Other reason we're doing this is the rear main seal on this tractor leaks too. All right, so we're gonna do the rear main seal on it. So before we get too carried away with that, we're gonna give it a bath, I think. Just to give it as clean a surface as possible as we're working on that. Yeah, that bushing definitely has seen better days. We'll go through the flywheel, make sure all the holes are good in it. This worst case scenario, I can have a machine shop offset them and then punch in a whole new set for me. But we have, thanks to Corv's Oliver, a brand new rear main seal design with an actual rubber seal inside it. Comes with gasket and everything, comes as a kit. I don't remember what the price is, but it was on Corv's Oliver. I called him up one day and told him what I was doing, and he's like, well, you might want to do this too. So this is an old, I believe, rope seal kit or set in there, something like that. That smashes it on in. This one here is a full replacement of a rubber seal, so we'll just put it on in, and then we'll silicone up the edges really good with some RTV. Make sure everything stays that way, stays in leak proof and all, but we want to wash this off really well before we go messing around with any of that. I might pull that plate off the block just to make sure we can get everything, all the oil cleaned out of that really good. So and for comparison of what the bushing should look like inside your clutch, here's a new one. There's the old ones. You know, parts of it. I don't know what failed first, but we'll have to get it remedied so we don't have this happening again. Now we're going to zip off this back plate too. Okay. All right. That all looks pretty good back there. Just we'll get this all washed off really good. All right, so I got some stuff removed. As you can see, I am missing part of the tractor. I will take you on over. Here's the tank and all that off. Seat and bracket. I got some kids out here that are building a pontoon boat. They're camouflaging it with chrome and gold apparently. But I turned and I went and I grabbed this with my Massey, and I just picked that baby up with the forks, rolled her on out here, and I gave her a good bath in the front end here, so she's pretty clean up in there. Give her a bath all the way around. So a little bit of stuff here and there, but I got the majority of it, so I can see the hardware and everything, makes it cleaning everything up. Cleanliness is next to godliness, so we'll get this back over and drop it off in front of the shop, so that way I can get in and grab the engine, and we're going to repeat it with the engine. We're going to clean that all up and make it all nice and pretty, so that's our next step. This is heavy. There's no fluid in there, but there's weights, and it's a little far forward on the forks, but it works, so that's all that mattered. But we're going to go ahead and move that now. Get some of the mud off my boots before I crawl on my tractor. And they say bad things happen on camera, so hopefully that's not true. Told the wife we weren't going to paint this one right now, but it's pretty clean. It'd be pretty easy to paint it. I just want to get her going, so get everything fixed on it. Whether as I go in there, I might have to do bearings in the rear end. I don't know. We'll find out as I get in there. I mean, for something as old as it is, it, you know, it deserves a little bit of TLC. There's no mistake about that. So we're just gonna park it in front of that little bay for now. If I was ambitious, I would clean out that little bay and I'd just pull it on inside there and take it down. Grab one of my jack stands. We'll get some chalk blocks under it. Gonna start setting the tires on the ground. Be careful, I got that in that tire a little bit. Oh, I'm on that already. All right, I'm gonna get that all done up real quick, and then I'll come back with you in a sec. All right, so I got the jack stand underneath it. Everything's clean pretty good. The back is blocked a little bit. I got the best I could, but there might be a bit more to do back here. I got a bit underneath there, but I think what will happen is that we'll get it over there and get it cleaned. That's down there, that's not gonna hurt anything. It's not around any seals. Once we get it back on its own feet, we can pull the whole drawbar assembly off when we put it back together and get it underneath and get it all scrubbed and cleaned up really nice and pretty, get all that old grease and oil off there. I think that axle has a leak in it. And I don't know if the other side I know doesn't, but I want to seal up as much as I can. I don't want oil leaks on this thing. And once I know she's sealed and dry, then we'll come in and do some polish on it. This bolt here could be some love on it somehow. On that. So we'll get in there and see what we can do. Whoa. But, all right, well, I'm gonna get this front side, get some oil just out of the way, get this front, get a bunch of this swept up, figure out how I'm gonna do this front side. I might just put some bars in through the holes and then come in and see if I can't pick it up that way. And I've picked up some Oliver 60s that way with my fork extension. It seemed to work, so maybe give it a whirl on this and see if that'll work for this too, so I can get up there and just wash it all up. I'll get some stuff covering that up and that up. I did verify this yesterday with the battery and some jumper cables. That fires up, so I'm kind of excited to have a grid heater. We never used it on this thing. So, and then I got a hole here I'll plug. I'm gonna get a garden hose fitting onto that so I can flush out that block really well. And then probably do something up top there to hook onto that and go from there. So that is a new water pump. I do remember, yeah, that we were leaking, we had a water pump leaking, and I did replace that water pump on it. Got it on the tractor. We're gonna go ahead and I'm gonna put some sawhorses underneath it, so that way it'll balance up the back end, then I can pull the tractor on out of here. and then get it washed in there, get it all nice and clean and scrubbed up, and flush the block, a bunch of stuff like that. So right now it's at a back angle, so it's drained almost everything out of the coolant reservoir. So we'll get it washed up. So I'll get the plug up on that and get a few other things, get this plugged up too. So yeah, I'll get those things plugged up real quick before we get going too far. All right, so I got it back in the shop. I just put her on some jack stands for now. I had her slope back to try to drain anything back. If water got into anything, hopefully it'll come back to the bottom. I'll pull that oil plug. I just was kind of careful around this and didn't, I'm sure a little water got in there, but this thing's had worse in it. But it'll just drain out through the bottom and we'll get it there. So I did flush some down through here and boiled this on out for against the thermostat. There's still some areas that it could do, but I got her pretty well licked. I think I am gonna pull, I got 4 bolts. I'm gonna pull the block off of this, and that way I can really get the inside of that frame. Get it all scrubbed down and cleaned and get it ready to go. And then I might put this on a engine hoist, or not engine hoist, but put this on a engine stand and rotate her on over and reseal the oil pan, redo the oil pan on it. Haven't decided. I think I could do the oil pan from underneath. I mean, I know I can, but if I can flip it upside down, I can get at it and make sure everything's good inside too. So I don't know, we'll see what I do on that. It's not a huge deal. I can always get to the oil pan later too. So I just figured if I had it out, I'd do it. But those are the old oil filters. Put them back in for now. Sorry, you can probably hear me better. I don't have my mic on. So put the old oil filters back on just to seal those up for the time being, and then I pressure wash the snot out of it also. She was dirty and gross, but that's gonna be all for tonight. I'm gonna go in and try to get some of these videos edited. That takes so much time. The repair is easy. It's all the time on the computer that takes forever. So, but just big shout out to all my viewers. Appreciate everything you guys watching and your comments. I read all of them. I try to reply back to them if there's, with response. So if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me. And if you like this kind of content, I hate to say it, but you can always like and subscribe. If not, no big deal. So I appreciate everybody out there, and I'll keep on farming. This is Farmer Clay saying thank you.